So what do we do when there isn't any butter? We make our own. So what we need is a container of double cream. Usually I get this when it's on special offer, so it's coming close to the date when it needs to be sold, and then I can turn it into butter, which lasts a lot longer than the cream and can be frozen. But so what we do to make the butter is we need a special piece of equipment, one jar with a lid that fits closely. So it's a very simple process. You just take the cream. I'm doing this all one-handed, so it's a bit awkward. And we pour the cream into the jar. That's the first stage. So once we have the cream in the jar, put on the lid, and then we just start tipping it backwards and forwards. It doesn't have to be really aggressive movements, but it has to be quite constant. Now you can shake it. What happens here is that the little particles of fat start colliding with each other. When they collide with each other, they knock the fat out of the suspension and it forms little collections of fat, and then they hit the other collections of fat and stick together. It takes quite a bit to get it started, but once it gets started you'll see. So I'm not going to bore you with a video of me just shaking this, so I'll fast forward to when it starts the process, which should take about 2 minutes. So now after 2 minutes you can hear it's not slopping around in there. And what's happened is it's sort of whipped it. So you can see it's like a whipped cream now, which is good. It's starting the process. Now I took this one directly out of the fridge, this cream, which I shouldn't have done because it needs to be sort of ideally at room temperature to make it work quickly. So it's best to leave it out and let it get to room temperature. Chef's bonus, eating the cream. So basically once we get to this stage we just continue with it, even though it doesn't seem to be doing anything. And I'll return back once it's to the next stage. Now one thing I can say is, see, it's all around the jar and it's not actually doing a lot, so what I'm going to do is just tap it on a firm surface, and you see it starts dropping down the jar into one end, which then allows it to move more. So you can do it on a firm surface or against your hand, and it starts moving to the bottom of the jar. Once you've got it closer to the bottom of the jar, I'll show you what happens again. This will only take a minute. I'll skip forward a bit. You can see it's starting to knock the air out of it, which allows more movement, and then it can start the cream making, the butter making process again. So, and we just repeat this. I'm going to do it on this doorstep, on the threshold. It's a bit less noisy and a bit firmer. It's a much bigger chunk of wood than the little table. So now you can see it's getting back to where we need it, and then we can start the whole process of shaking again. So yeah, this little table is an oak table, but it's made from a barrel top and Victorian stool. So I've had this, built this, or put the two pieces together many years ago, probably, yeah, a long time ago. So there we go, it's got to this stage, and then we start gently shaking again until we get more of the fats forming little see, it starts moving. And it's forming more of a solid inside. So it's not so much of a liquid now. Now we get to this stage. This is when the fat particles are all starting to congeal, stick together. So I'll carry on shaking this for another couple of minutes and show you what happens. So, see, it sort of forms to one end of the jar, and we turn it round and shake it to the other end. Now, of course, you can do all of this whilst you're sitting having a cup of tea or some scones with jam, or if you have a television, you can sit and do this while you're watching one of your programs. It doesn't have to be just this, you can be doing it whilst you're up to something else. So I'll carry on with this stage for the next couple of minutes. Okay, so this is the beginning of the next stage. You'll see that it's got a liquid being left on the surface of the glass inside. So it's separating off the buttermilk from the fats, and it's moving much more easily. So we'll continue with this for a few more minutes. So as we continue, you can see the liquid is starting to separate from the solids. So that's the buttermilk in there. And the more you shake it, the easier it gets to move around. It gets quicker and quicker from this stage on. And you see the butter starting to form. That's basically your butter and buttermilk there, but I like to keep going for a little bit longer. Make sure I get all the fats out of the buttermilk, which I can. Now, this is for unsalted butter, but if you wanted to make salted butter, you put about 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Any salt will do it, but obviously it's up to your preference. But 1/4 teaspoon of salt for every cup of cream that you use. Now, this is about half a litre, 500 millilitres of cream, which is approximately 2 cups. So for this amount, in this sort of size, you would want 1/2 teaspoon of salt. It's not a lot, but it helps preserve it and gives it that flavour. I'm not making that today, but I do like that sort of butter on my toast, I must admit. So we just keep going with this now for another couple of minutes until we get to the next stage. Right, so now we have the buttermilk and the butter We want to separate them out, so we're going to take a container and pour the buttermilk out, and that's beautiful tasting. It's very good for use in baking. So we just drain out as much of the buttermilk as we can. And the trick is to get as much of this out of the butter as possible, and that's what makes it last longer. So the more liquid we can get out of this butter, the better. So then we take the butter and put it onto something we can pat it with to try and get more of the milk out. Now, you can use all sorts for the next stage. I use the back of wooden spoons, etc. So now we've got the butter out of that. You want to press it to squash the liquid out, and you'll see it all comes out as you press it, and work it with the anything you can. So what we want to do is to squeeze it between two surfaces. Now, years ago these used to be quite fancy bits of kit. Some of them had patterns on them to emboss into the butter. So I'm just going to whip up a couple of them, little butter pats, because I don't have any, and now seems an ideal opportunity to make some. So I'm just going to nip off, take this piece of T&G and a jigsaw and cut out a couple of pats and clean them up and use them on here. Okay, so they're very rough and ready. They only took 5 minutes to make. So these are just sawn and sanded out of a piece of untreated pine. So they probably could do with being a little bit heavier, but they'll do the job, I'm sure. We'll try them. So next thing is to take them out the way, and you'll see that the butter leaves the milk behind. I don't know if you can quite make it out, so you need to keep pouring the milk off. So, and basically we pat the milk, butter, and one comes out of the other. Now this is better to do on a flat surface, but I don't have a cutting board to hand I could use to do this, so this plate will do, and we just keep patting it and pressing it and squeezing all the liquid out. And you see as I squeeze it, all liquid comes out. It's essential to get rid of this liquid because that's what preserves it. Keep working it, squeezing it until you're satisfied that as much of the liquid is out as you're going to get out. Now, there's all sorts of ways you can treat this, with pressing it into different moulds and all sorts of things. But and then enjoy. So there you have your butter and your buttermilk, all from one container of double cream. And that's a lot to get out of one of these. There's absolutely no waste. It's all absolutely gorgeous. I enjoy drinking this. It just tastes beautiful. Happy making. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please share. I'd like to make what was once common knowledge much more common again. Thank you.